Roundtable Fall 2025. This is really our first one of doing this. We used to do this a long time ago, apparently. Didn't want to fully close that. Now it looks like I'm not being inclusive. We used to do this back in the day. We're going to try bringing it back here after we got a lot of feedback last year about having clubs being able to talk. So you left the call? That's really great. That's really what we needed. Yes, this is what we're doing. We're going to try it. We're trying it, right? So hopefully somebody can get some use out of this and the playback and, it's whatever, right? So, all right. And these are kind of the topics that we're going to go through, right? So we got 5 topics, about 3 to 4 questions in each, right? And these questions were kind of created as little like starter, like kind of call to action things, right? They make you start thinking and make you start asking questions, right? So I will, for the recording, right, say, Hassan, what club are you involved with?
Answer. Muslim Student Association.
Awesome. Awesome. And then Barbara, how about you? What club are you associated with?
I am with Active Minds and Love Grow Serve and a couple other clubs too.
But you're at least an officer with those 2, right?
Oh yeah, yep.
Yep. So wow, and that's very impressive. An officer of 2 clubs, right? So these topics really are going to kind of just be something to make you start thinking, and hopefully some conversations, at least between the 2 of you, can start to spark, right? And I mean, truthfully, Bethany, as you just started, you have a club that just initiated. This can help kind of lead some of the questions as well. I mean, MSA just became a club again after being not a club for how many, I don't know how long, but I mean, that was a big triumph, right? It worked really hard to find a club advisor. Now you've got a really great club advisor, somebody that really great club advisor. And I mean, club's active, right? You have big, Dan mentioned that you had a big turnout yesterday for it. I think it was the kickoff meeting, right?
Exactly.
So that's great, right? And Barbara, I know Active Minds is doing a lot of collaborating with PDK efforts. Has been at the Campus Fun Day. Love Grow Surf has been as well, and Love Grow Surf has been doing a lot with Rise SAB. I mean, there's very active club officers in very active clubs, right? So I think that a lot can be really shared and you can really look and get something out of that, right? So these are just the kind of the overall arching topics, right? And so some of them might be hits and some of them might be misses, but so. Big picture and icebreakers. We're focusing on just the overall landscape of your club, right? Or the clubs, right? So think about it like that, right? And when we look at some of these things, like what's a small win your club has recently had that you're proud of, right? And so it could be things like you had a good event turnout or you gained some new members, right? So I'm going to kind of ask Hassan, what would be one small win that you recently had?
The Student Senate is talking about us. I think it's a huge win.
That is a huge win, right?
For the diversity in food.
That's a huge win. Yeah, especially having.
Other than gaining new members.
Hey, no, this is open-ended. That's a very great. You have a student org who's actively got you on their sites. And that's big. That's big news, right? So that's a big win. How about Barbara? How about you? What's a nice small win that one of your clubs or both of your clubs have recently had that you're proud of?
I think I'm most proud of the collaborations, the collaboration opportunities that have been presented to both the clubs. So yeah, we've, like you said, Active Minds, we've collabed with the Volunteer Center, we've collabed with PTK, Love Grow Serve, we've collabed with First Gen and Rise. So yeah, I'm that's what I'm really happy about.
Can I ask a further follow-up question, just because I'm curious, right? What exactly about the collabs are that kind of make you feel really proud or really just strike a note with you? Do you have can you identify specifically?
I think it's just the fact that that the club is recognized, for what the club is recognized for, so Active Mind, both clubs are pretty much a volunteer service type of club, of course, with different goals in mind. But yeah, the fact that that we've been recognized for that, and we keep getting more orgs and clubs reaching out for us to collab.
That's
So
awesome. Yeah, no, that's really awesome, right? Thank you for sharing that. So, like, now that we shared a success here, let's look at at this challenge, right? Like, so, let's say I was talking about, joking around about witchcraft. Let's say we had a magic wand, right? And we could, swing it around and solve one problem that your club is currently facing, big or small, right? I don't, some clubs may not feel like they have a lot of problems, but they may feel they're just annoyances or something like that, right? But whatever it may be, as an officer of a club, you have the ability to make this say right now and say what would that one problem be that would be solved if you could use that magic wand? And Hassan, I'll start with you again.
Yeah, so we have like a couple officers in the club, making the officers more commitment to like tasks.
Mhm.
Right now, all they do is like show up and like we talk about it. We do so much work when talking, but nobody actually like do the food section, do the event section, do the budget section. It's like only load on 2 or 3 people in the club who's doing all that.
Yeah, that can be really hard and that can be really exhausting. After that's a really big that could be a big sign of burnout, and then the club really ends up suffering, right? So yeah. Barbara, how about you?
I think the one problem would be more member participation. Um, Unfortunately, both clubs they're known, but we're small. A lot of the times it's just one or two, three at most people that operates, and you know what I mean, besides the advisors, of course, that does, the footwork for it. But we are involved with it. So yeah, I wish I can get more people to be involved. They say that they want to be, and then they don't, actually show. So
And so we're talking more. Are we talking? Because I'm seeing obviously a theme here with both of you, right? Is it that you want more participation or an active participation with the club officers themselves, or with officers and the club members?
For us both.
Both. Okay. How about you, Barbara?
for me, it's my members.
Okay.
My officers, I mean, with the clubs, I got me and my treasurer, and we're both very active. Actually, we're the ones that are active. So, and
Yeah.
that's with both my clubs, So,
Yeah.
yeah, members. I need members. As much as I can try to recruit, and everyone, and they try to recruit, is like I said, it's still up to people to actually attend and participate in the activities and events and things.
Yeah, yeah, you did you're hitting on nail on the head on that, right? Like you can do everything that you can possibly do to get them in that spot, but it's up to them to take that step, right? And I guess you think about, and I'm not one of two people in this meeting, right? So it's always it's a hit or miss, right? When we talk about trying to get engagement at events, right?
I'm a club.
You are.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, like, why?
3
All right,
club
if
officers
you want-
showing up.
Okay, then,
Thank
all
you.
right. But what I'm getting at though is, I'm not gonna claim that you know all the answers, and I'm probably far from it. The club, so we have over 55 clubs, let's put it that way, right? They're diverse, they've got their own way and way of an ecosystem on how they handle things. I'm not gonna claim to know what the magic recipe is, right? When I say things, I'm just gonna throw them out in ways of thinking about them, right? One thing that I think about, right, is incentivizing, right? So, or that they understand the benefits, right? Fully understand the benefits. And sometimes it's that mentality of getting the excitement of what, and I say that I'm looking at you, Hassan, because doing Senate, right? how did I get as president and get students to want to participate? I put that inspiring that message into them, making them see why it's so important to be the voice and to help to represent your fellow students. I gave them that excitement, right? And so that might work for Senate, right? It might have to just be transformed or converted into its own way that would work for a specific club or a specific club's needs, right? To get that participation, and maybe a form of that plus incentivizing, like, active membership versus general membership, right? Active membership, you might have more of a stake in, think of it like a company, right? If I have stocks, and voting member of how the mission of or the direction of the business can go, and how, where the future takes us, or it's like, or maybe it's somewhat similar. Active membership, you get more maybe voting rights or whatever, you get that, who knows, right? I mean, again, all clubs are different, but that's something I think about, right? When I hear that, is like, maybe those would be two options that could maybe at least start something that could build some more, involvement and engagement with your members and your officers in this case, right? So, yeah, so that's interesting, right? Then let's look at the resources here, right? So besides just money, what's one resource that would make your job as a club officer significantly easier, right? So I think about this question as, what's one thing that would help you get a leg up into a spot where you feel a lot more comfortable and stronger, or even more independent as a club, feeling like you don't have to rely on ELT as much, right? This is open-ended. There could be a lot of different ways to approach this, but what could just be one resource besides just money, right? It's always nice to have money, right? But I mean, it's more than that, right? It's what the club's about, its mission, its goals, who it serves, what you get out of it, what the club members get out of it, right? So what would be a good resource that you would feel like that would help you feel more just concrete and in a stronger stance that would really help your club? So Hassan, and I also want to say, if you don't have answers, right, it's also okay to say, I don't know, right? I'm not trying to make anyone feel like they have to answer something that they don't have an answer. But I'm interested to see, if you have something to share.
Yeah, one of the things, yes, obviously, like, we love to get like a lot of members and people in the club's events, but when we get sponsored by like the IE or the CIE or other organizations and participating them in their events, it's very good for us to get a help from outside, but also to be like visible during those big events. Like, let's say Diwali is coming up or something. They sponsor us, we sponsor with them, like a collaboration.
Yeah.
Both entities are giving help to each other. So that's a very a good resource that, as a club officers, makes us much easier to do our work.
Yeah, that sounds like a great way of thinking about that. More support from, I would say more support from either departments or organizations, and or more opportunities to collaborate with other clubs. That's is what I kind of took out of that. Barbara, what are your thoughts?
That's pretty much what I was thinking. And another thing that I was thinking about, I know with ELT we have our club advisor, right? Okay, so I was thinking maybe it could be helpful, and I know they probably have, well, not probably, I know they have stuff that they have to do, but maybe they could even help promote our clubs. I know my club advisor, she did do that for one of my clubs. Someone came in and asked about some service opportunities, and she promoted my club to them. So, and I was very thankful for that. And I'm like, hey, maybe that could be part of, something that our club advisor in ELT helps us with, as far as getting it out to everyone, promoting our clubs. I mean, I know it's generally up to us to promote our clubs, but, just say, hey, have you checked out, for example, Have you checked out the activities going on with blah 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 clubs lately? Something of
Yeah,
that nature, instead of
yeah.
just me always trying to, excuse me, promote my events or activities or promote for members, or you know what I'm saying? So I think that would be kind of beneficial too. I mean, I don't really, because I don't really use my advisor for many resources, not to and
Mhm.
I'm happy that they're there, but I think that that would be a great resource that I would use them for.
Yeah, so I'm hearing a lot of different things, but one thing I feel like I'm hearing is that, kind of relating to the previous question though, too, is if your members were engaging more, right, that would allow you to have more of an outreach with promoting events and the club's existence and as well, right? Obviously, I'm not trying to minimize the club advisor promoting something. I will be very clear and say I am trying to minimize it if it's just solely the club advisor, right? We have it in the handbook that we don't want them to just be the one just mainly promoting and stuff, because then the student club officers
No,
aren't
I
doing what
mean,
they're done.
She needs us.
No, and Barbara, I know that you're not saying that. I know that you're not saying that at all. You're actually, and you just said, you do a lot of the promoting as it is, right? So it makes sense to say, hey, if there's already promoting going on with you as the student club officer, the extra guidance and assistance by the club advisor helps. And then, yes, like you said, like you're trying to say here is Bethany, the promotion with ELT as well, right? And heck, we were just talking about this earlier, honestly, about at least one and multiple ways to continue to help support clubs, right, and to promote them in their joining. Yeah, what's up, Robert?
yeah, when I say my club advisor, I'm talking about my club advisor within ELT, not my club
Oh,
The liaison.
advisor.
oh,
You know
you're
what I
talking
mean?
about
I'm not talking,
liaison.
I'm
Okay,
talking about, yeah, that's it, my club liaison.
okay,
That's it. Yeah. So that's who
yeah,
I'm talking about, not my club's advisor. No, 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 no. I'm saying my ELT club
Yeah.
yeah.
liaison. That's who I'm referring to.
Okay,
Yeah.
that definitely changes my response here a little bit. That's interesting. Um, I
You know what I
think
mean?
that
Because
that,
each liaison has a certain amount of clubs that they over, right? So if they
yep,
can just, those clubs, they can just shoot out a quick message and help us to promote, hey, these clubs are looking for me, you know, X, Y, and Z club are looking for members, or XYZ club are throwing events. Check them out. They don't have to say specifically, but just to get that extra mention of the clubs, even if they throw their list together and say, of all the clubs that they're over, hey, check out these list of clubs this week, or you know what I mean?
mhm,
Help us to get that um extra foot out there to get us more
yeah.
members, to help us get more members.
I agree.
I think that's very interesting, very interesting comment. And would, I would respond to see, I don't know, I mean, again, originally wasn't how it was intended for the club
Right,
liaisons to be. I'm not saying that it's not okay for them to evolve. I'm
right, right.
thinking of some middle ground which would allow to address what you're trying to say for that assistance, right? With the liaison. I'm also thinking about in terms of the liaison of the ELT member themselves, that might get they have a lot of other responsibilities on their plate as well, and that might get a little
Right.
bit very hard on them to be able I mean, about right now, let's say they have about 15 clubs each they're taking on, right? And it really depends on the club, it's like how extensive and how much that club is doing stuff versus another club that's not, right? So it may be that they're gonna be doing a lot of having it could just get very heavy and bogged down. So like in the middle ground, right, where to address what you're asking, and also allow there to be, I'm gonna say longevity, but a way of making it manageable for the club
But
liaison
that's why I
itself.
said, don't go into specifics of it. Just throw
Yeah.
out like they can create like a general email. Hey, check out these clubs to see if they're looking for members or what events they have. Make a list of the 15 clubs that they have. That's it. Send out that email once or twice a week or once a month or something like. I'm not saying list every event that their clubs that they have under. You see what
Yeah,
I'm saying? I'm
I
just asking
do.
for a little bit extra push of names out there, not just for my clubs, but any clubs that's out there. So a
Yeah.
little generic email, you know, kind of or message on Wolfpack or whatever, however to get the kind of extra for clubs out there
Yeah,
that's
and so
looking for membership.
we do have, and again, we just talked about today, one way of doing that, it is a spotlight of a sense, and that would be on the homepage. We don't know how long that would be on the homepage, it's never been talked, it's kind of like it's a concept that was started at the end of last year, and then is in really this brand new infancy stage, right? But the idea is that it allows to promote a club on a certain basis, right? So what say that's a week, 2 weeks, a month, who knows, right? But it allows just a quick little blurb of what the club's about, maybe some benefits of being in the club, and a link to join, right? Or a link to click here for more to join or whatever. And so we are definitely looking for, we haven't actively reached out, but it is something that I want to start getting going is to see, we need clubs who wanted to start to be the first ones to promote that, right? So maybe, it seems like Barbara and Hassan, your clubs might be great examples of this, to just try them out and see how that goes and then fine tune it from there. And then take with the other information that you're sharing about the liaisons, really sit down with the rest of ELT when we have our weekly meetings and see how we can best address that and find a way to make that work, right? So yeah, that's really good information, really good information to share. You're your hand up right now, Betsy?
Can I?
Yeah.
Barbara, have you ever taken advantage of the Clarion, putting your club in as a spotlight?
Very
Yep,
good.
yep. I've done the spotlight. I've done it a couple semesters. I actually have the form now. I was gonna fill out again and send over. But yeah, I've done the spotlight before.
Okay.
How
So
did it
it's
work
just
for you?
um
It felt like it was
it
worth it? I mean, truthfully, because I can't,
I
I don't
didn't
know.
gain any members. You know what I mean? People know me. They know me and they know me from the clubs and they know of the clubs, but I still don't have a lot of active membership. Um,
Can I ask
yeah,
may I ask a follow-up?
that's all.
How was, so the spotlight for Clarion, and that's very good that you brought that up, Bethany. I'm very happy that you did that. Um, it didn't seem to really help gain any members. How about Campus Fun Day this year? And then I'm gonna ask if you remember, you may not, and that's okay. But last year, and we're gonna let's use just Truex as the conditional, consistent, right? If we're doing a science experiment, that consistent, thing in there where it's like Truex is the location. If you gained any members from Campus Fun Day last year after promoting, let's say, Love, Grow, Serve, right? Let's just use Love, Grow, Serve as the example on this. And then let's do, did you gain any members this year from Love, Grow, Serve from Campus Fun Day at Truex? I'm
Yeah,
curious to know.
yeah, I do gain members. I gain members on paper, and it's been that way. It's been that way since I've been the club president the past couple years. So on paper, our membership looks great, and it looks
When you
like,
say on paper, what do
I mean
you,
the numbers, the numbers
okay,
that are in Wolfpack, our membership numbers, they look great. But as far as being active members, that's where it is. You know, that I don't have that active participation. They seem interested, and they sound really interested, and we have good conversations. But then when I try to go get input, okay, when can you meet? I don't hear anything. Or, I've even sent emails. I've sent emails, through the club to all my members. I've done a bunch of things. I've sent surveys. I've done Wolfpack surveys. I've done when to meet. So it feels just like I'm taking all the steps, but people say they're interested, but actions speak louder than words.
Can I throw another?
And my big thing is, I'm sorry, Sean, to cut you out, but when you said incentivize, right? Well, my biggest incentive is, hey, you can earn service hours, because a lot of clubs you can't earn service hours, but because we do so much service, you know what I mean? So it's like, even that doesn't work. Everybody, that's one of the big things. Everybody's like, oh yeah, 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 I'll definitely do that because it's something I love, and it, fits with me and my values and da da da. But then when it's time,
Yeah.
it's only me
Yeah.
and the
Yeah,
advisor
it
and the
seems
treasurer.
frustrating, but I guess what I'm gonna say is I'm gonna kind of deconstruct this a little bit and try to put it together in a way and see, if you get where I'm coming from here. Because when we talk about the Clarion and that, the news are, using that as a way to promote, we're not talking about the difference between active members or members, we're just talking about members in general, right? The same thing applies, I would think, in my mind, about Campus Fun Day, right? Regardless of the year, we're just talking about gaining members, right? And how you define membership in the club itself is all depends on how the club wants to make that work, right? And what I'm trying to get at, what I'm really trying to get at from that is that it's promoting is always going to be a struggle, and gaining members that are either just going to be there because they maybe are at Campus Fun Day and they walk by and they have to get the little golden ticket stamped, and so they're not really fully interested and care, right? Versus somebody who actually really wants to do stuff and really wants those service hours, because yes, I know service hours can be very beneficial and help a student with their co-curricular transcript, as they're trying to, either move on from this college, can really be a big thing, right? But it just depends on it. Some years are going to have it work really well, or semesters are going to work really well. Sometimes they're not, right? So I'm just what I'm deconstructing here is the difference between, like, I hear your struggle and your frustration about talking about active membership and general membership, but we're also now, that's one topic. We're also talking about another topic about just the fact of gaining members, right? Just gaining members. So on paper, when you said on paper that looks good, well, yeah, on paper, we're just talking about how many members we get. Yeah, that may look good if you're, again, you sign out there and they scan it, they might, yeah, they may join the club, right? Past that, right? So, and one, Jack's here. So hi, Jack. Two, Hassan has their hand up.
I also want to add another, frustration for all, not just like specifically for all clubs, is that we're in a community college. So most people here are for 2 years, mostly for 2 years, I would say. And then people start discovering clubs on their second year, which there's only 1 year left. So people come like for 1 year, we see them a lot, get involved, but the second year they're not there or anything like that. So then we have to restart again. 1 year, it's like kind of 1 year working, and then the second year, there might be a few people on the second year, but it's like most people go away. So that's like, nobody can fix that issue too.
Can I add, and I know you probably have more context to this than I do since you're on the district board stuff, but I know they, in the past years, because we have had such low enrollment rates due to COVID, all these things, the school's only been focusing for years. Their main objective, their main goals that they've been putting on paper is that they want more enrollment. They've been upping their enrollment and making sure students are getting in the door, and they have open door policies, all these things. They're welcoming students in, and they're realizing this year specifically, once we actually now have very high enrollment, we have enrollment back to where it was before. They're finally deciding that they're actually focusing on, they're changing their focus to making sure they're supporting students, to retention of students, actually making sure that students are getting what they need to graduate and feel like they're supported. And that, I feel like, because that just kind of shows that, to me, that's kind of showing that school is realizing how much our students are struggling. And that is reflecting in our engagement, because students don't have the wherewithal or the capacity to be getting involved, because a lot of students are barely passing their classes. They barely use the services that are available. They barely know about the services available for their academic journey. Why would they want to be helping with clubs and learning things outside of that when they barely are able to, they come to campus for 6 hours a day, 7 hours a day, and all of that is dedicated to just their class time and class work. What time do they have outside of that? And what can we actually be doing for students to make it worth getting involved? What are we doing for the new students who are excited about going to college and getting involved in these things that makes them actually want to keep coming back?
Yeah, no, I mean, you're talking on some very good points here. And the big, I think, in terms of the first part that you said, right, the idea of completion, right, is completely in a new direction that the new president is taking, right? So that is something different than what we have been doing, where it was just enrollment numbers, right? So 100%, right? The idea and the concept of what being involved is meant to be, what the core idea and spirit of, you can find a space, and I'm using space like figuratively, but finding your space with your people, and you have something that you can connect and bond with, and have events and just connect, right? A good moment to connect. If it's all in the lens where it's just everything's struggling, yeah, that's never going to feel like something that you can even do or get around to, because you're just trying to survive, right? And the entire thing needs to be rethought, reimagined, stripped out, and put back in to make what clubs are involved in is what give it that special ability again. So that is very interesting insight, because I truthfully never heard somebody say how dire the situation is, and it really at least leaves me thinking about things, honestly. Yeah, Ready?
I'm fairly new, so I don't have like a bunch of data to support it, just kind of like a general thought of like fundamentally when it comes to clubs, like just what I've seen in this past couple of months, it's whenever it comes to a club, it's what you can do for it. Like I have this event where you can participate and you do this, and it feels like maybe that we're missing just that part of like first finding like community within that group. Like, hey, we just meet and we catch up on homework.
Mm-hmm.
Our officer she's been in the leadership classes, so she's a really great study buddy. So that way it's like just rethinking for that person, because I can't imagine how different my life would have been 5 years ago in 2017 had it been, taught to me that way, that this club is a group of your peers that look like you, that talk like you, that eat like you, and we just do our homework together. We form that community, and then halfway through or even a weekend, just knowing that one person, like, hey, we're gonna do this volunteer thing, do you want to come? You know what? Yeah, I will make time, because this is now a community that I trust. I feel like, of course, there's good intention with events. It's just, again, oh great, that's another thing I have to add to my plate to go do. Which is I'm not saying it's bad, because obviously you want the involvement to do fun things, eat the food. It's just I feel like sometimes we just miss that integral part, that you have to be a community first before you ask people to do things.
Yeah. Bethany, before I let you speak here, I just wanted to say, I sometimes, you know, when I look at, and we're not even gonna get halfway through, or even further through things, which is a good sign, because that means that there is conversation on this. This is what the roundtable is about. But, and I had mentioned to you earlier in the day, I mentioned it's the mission, what the mission and the goals of the club were, right? And yes, so often it seems that, especially when it comes to the incentive program is meant to help student clubs engage, right, and earn money as one of the, because all the student club has besides is to fundraise, right? So this is an opportunity to engage and get more and hope do certain tasks, right, and earn money for that as well, right? But and so I think that sometimes that gets looped into the whole thing, but the fundamental thing that I at least I know I'm thinking about that maybe it would help me to remember to try to kind of emphasize on is what I was saying about the goals, right? So it's about your club and what your club's mission and goals are, right? So if your club is to sit around and do nothing, right? And it's finding contentment in that, right? And then that is your club exists and it is happy and it is a fulfilled club, right? Right. It's whatever the club's goals and mission are, right? So yes, hosting events definitely can serve a part in that, and they can help gain new members, right? But yes, the main objective is whatever the mission and the goals are, right? And it also, I think, sometimes we get a little intertwined with the type of club, right? Because if we have an academic club, that they're definitely driven to doing things all the time, right? It's kind of links into the program that they're in, right? Whereas maybe an interest-based or identity-based, club, yeah, that does not that flow, that ebb and flow is nothing, not even close to the same thing, right? And so sometimes that might get swept up into the tide. And you think, oh, well, I have to do this and that and this and that, right? And really, it's all about the mission and the goals and what your group wants to do, right? So that's very, yeah, it is very, very good comment that you had, Bethany.
My club is an academic club, and I had a hard time in the beginning. I was hoping maybe someone else would run it because I participate in some other stuff at school that takes up a lot of time. But I think what got people interested, and my club is probably like a week old, maybe 2 almost, was like selling it to them, like, and even though it's technically an academic club, like, we can reserve rooms, like as a club, we can reserve these rooms to create the space, because at the specific campus that I'm at, we have to like book out study rooms. We can only do that 4 hours a week, but our program is so heavy that we need more than that. And so like, just like the things you can get out of the club, at least just to get us off the ground running is how I got my members. And then maybe in the future, I'm looking to like see like, okay, now that we're established, what can we do for the community? But that's how I got my people involved, was like, this is what the club can do for you. I know that's not necessarily like ideal, but
There was no ideal or not ideal, right? Because again, I don't come in what the answer is to that. I mean, it's if somebody has one thought or wants to do one thing and somebody also sees the benefit in that or also wants to participate in that, there's no wrong way how they connect, right? Check.
This kind of brings up a question. I was like, I'm wondering why there's such a big gap here of people who put in the work for these clubs and the people that are benefiting from the things that they do. That is like such a weird attitude that we have here. And I know it's a lot to do with because so many people like come back to school for a 3rd or 2nd year and are staying in these positions for these clubs. A lot of the times is what happens. And so they are used to knowing how to do things and knowing how to run the events, but then they aren't ones that are benefiting from it. And so the people that, you want retention, but the it ends up being, okay, you have a team of a few people who does all of the work, so everyone else can come and do the things and come have fun. But what is the executive team getting here that makes them want to stick around? And it's not even just the executive team, it's not the elected officers, but even like the people that come and help run the event. What are they getting from this? Other than just, okay, I feel fulfillment because I did something for my club. That's not gonna keep retention up,
Yeah.
No.
just objective.
I know, I would say, the only thing I could say that I could see from that, right, that they would gain from what you're talking about is the feeling of leadership, right? The feeling that they help to coordinate and plan and execute something, right? There's some could argue that many of the things that you deal with event planning or decision-making with a group's direction, like, those are things that benefit anyone in their future and even in their career, whether they take on a manager or a supervisor role, or if they work with if they don't take on a role like that, but they work in a teammate in a group, and they benefit in some way to some of those traits. Now, could those things be gained from other things not related to being a leader in a club? Yeah, very true, right? But I could say for me only, right, and how I'm seeing it for being as when I was in the Senate in the org, right, like, the benefit for me was what I got out of it as knowing that I'm leading, I'm taking on a challenge, a task, I'm seeing how well I can do with it, right? My way of viewing it is just one viewpoint, right? It could be a billion different ways somebody could view that same scenario, right? But I think that the idea is that they get some leadership experience taking on an officer role. But if they're always taking on that role and they're never benefiting from any of the things that maybe say the event had or whatever, for a while that kind of sucks, right? I mean, I don't see any reason, right? It kind of sucks if you're always feeling you're breaking your back for it, right? So, yeah.
I think like kind of like two things. One, more so that it's not that it's not beneficial. It's just like whoever's throwing the party never gets to enjoy the party. They're overseeing it. They're like, oh my God, I gotta keep up with the food. I have to make sure that I'm cleaning. I have to, like, they never get to enjoy it because they're too busy. Is this running smoothly? Is this fine? So it's like, and a part of leadership is being a teacher. And so that you can teach the members, hey, Brittany, I want to throw this event. And you get to like just watch your leadership in them when they feel empowered to do their own event. So I see what Jack is saying, that like it's hard when it's just you doing it over and over and over. And of course that you do feel fulfilled in that sense that I'm great at event planning now and I know that and I can, get members in, but then is it always going to be me? Will I ever get to sit back and enjoy? And again, watch my students, for that lack of a better word, feel empowered to do the same.
Yeah, and really in most sense, you in an ideal, world, right, you would have a team, right, that would be effectively working with you, and the scheduling and the timing would be there so you guys could meet and figure it out, and who's gonna do this and who's gonna do that, and then, and that never seems to work, especially at Peter Community College, right? And so somebody else is sometimes taking on more of the responsibility than others, and so, yeah, it really, I guess, all of that being said, I think I go back to what is the point right now, as I kind of feel like we're diving deeper into more of a top-down looking viewpoint, right? But what is the purpose of what a club does and how it can help and benefit from? And then what is the difference between being a member of a club versus being an officer of a club, right? And what those differences serve, right? Because they do serve very different roles, right? And what you get out of that at the end of the day, right? I mean, I think that, seeing some, I mean, again, Muslim Student Association had that great event yesterday. How did that feel? How did it feel to get that event going to the point where it was going? How did it feel during the time that the event was going on? Like, did it feel hectic? Did it feel like how did you manage? Did it feel like, and then how did the after effects, the cleanup, just walk me through how that planning for that event went?
Exactly. First of all, you have to get the officers together and figure out what's gonna do what. That's the biggest issue. And to be honest with you, most officers didn't do like what we expected. And then we got a lot of people unexpectedly. Obviously they came most of the part for the food. But yeah, it was overwhelming during the event. I had to talk to the people, but I also had to manage like what's gonna happen next, and who's gonna be sitting or where, or like who's gonna be counting how many people coming in. So you have to do kind of all that during the event, in order for you to run a successful event, and like making sure taking pictures and all that. After the event, like you need to follow up with the people who came. There's a lot of work after the events too, like signing up them on the Wolfpack Connect and all that, and just figuring out what's going to be the next kind of events that we got feedback from, and what things we did wrong during the event.
So what could one thing, as we were talking about, what magic wand, or what could one thing be to make that event easier? Could it be more communication amongst the officers, or more commitment or dedication? Like I'll take care of it, and then they actually did take care of it and they handled it, so you didn't have to check to make sure it was being dealt with. What would be one small thing that you could work with for the next event that you hold that would maybe make some of the things that were struggles or kind of a little bit more hardships be a little bit more easier to manage?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's not a one thing, I would say. The key thing that we're looking for is commitment.
Yeah.
And then that's the only resource. If we get it, I think it's gonna be a great event next time.
Yeah.
It's just, I would phrase it in one word, commitment, but that's.
Commitment. All right. So we're hitting about 4:00, which is not a bad thing or anything. One thing I feel like I'm getting out of this, right? I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, that we've got a lot to say, and there's been not a lot waste time or opportunities to say it, right? And that maybe this is something that's been needed. I can say, Elijah, you were right again. But that maybe this needs to happen more frequently than what it's currently set to. I mean, obviously, we have got a lot more to get through in this. Again, there was only 5 sets of 3 questions each, but we've only gotten into the first one. We've dipped into some of the other things that would be in those other slides, but I think like if this opened up everything here, I think that we are in for more of a novel, instead of just a paperback book, right, with a couple of 100 pages, or for like a 1,000-page book. And that's a good sign. That's a good thing, right? Because that's giving us ways to talk and actually express how we're feeling about something, and then maybe finding ways to figure out solutions to some of them as well, right? So I do want to create more of these, and I do hope that everyone will come back, right? And we can continue on our conversation, because I feel like Jack, you hit on some things that just make me want to think, and actually when we kind of want to bring up the student life staff meeting, because it's like, but yes, this is exactly what I was hoping to see, and I'm very happy about that. So I will share out the entire slide. I also will share out the recording, right, if we posted. So because I do think like no one's not, and the idea is not anyone to feel like they have to take notes, so they can feel like they can say the things, and then if something came up that was really meaningful, that was like, oh, I want to get that, they can watch that and get that. And I've also signed this up so that this isn't the typical workshop that you would expect to see, but this, in my opinion, that this is something, this is reflective qualities, and so you fill this out, this will help towards gaining money for the incentive program as well, right? So, anyway, that's what I'm gonna say for right now. I think maybe for everyone, anyone had any last minute things to say, we can go around and just say them and then kind of end there. Does that sound good? Barbara, do you have some last minute thing that you might want to say or
Final thought?
final thought? Yeah.
No, not too much. I mean, I thank you for the opportunity, for giving us this space to kind of, you know, give you a little bit of feedback from, what we've been experiencing as club officers. So, and just, giving us this time to listen to us. So thank you.
Barbara, I sent you a message on Teams. You don't have
Okay.
to reply now, but I'm just letting you know, because I know some people don't use Teams as much, but just so you know, I sent you a.
Okay, and I don't, so I got my notifications off. Okay, I'll check it.
Hassan, how about you? Do you have any?
I think this was wonderful, talking about it. Jack's also perspective. I can also translate that into the district board meetings. Yeah, and yours perspective was also great. Yeah, I think it was a great session. I just want to say thank you.
Yeah. Jack, how about you?
I'd love to talk more with ELT in the future.
Awesome, I like that. And for ELT, Goodman, do you have anything you want?
I just feel like a sponge. Everybody had such great ideas, and it was really great to just hear everybody voice their own concerns so I could adapt it and bring it into my own leadership and helping clubs.
I love it. Brittany?
No, just definitely like food for thought, like a lot more so specifically on like us, kind of like what our position can look like a little bit more from what they've said.
Yeah.
For sure that.
And then Bethany?
As like a liaison, I agree. I've tried to reach out, to like check in with my clubs, but maybe I'm not checking in the way that they need me to. So just like being aware of like some of the issues that the officers are experiencing to see how we can like further support.
Yeah, I brought up you checking in with the clubs and then you did quite literally where you sent out a message. And I would tell you though,
Yeah.
the response
I got like 6.
was unbelievable, and it just made me think to myself that if that is the response we're getting back, we're a month and a half in, right? From a check-in, that has to be happening at all the clubs, right? And yeah, I didn't share that with any of you, but that is something that I felt after you did that, because I was like, oh, she literally did it, and it was kind of eye-opening. So, but yes, so these are all good things. So yeah, I'm gonna say thank you, everyone, and we'll get into something else on the books. I very soon. I'll find a way to make that happen.
And don't be afraid to reach out to us liaisons. Let us know what you need.
What's your
I
hobby
didn't want to
number?
put you, Bethany. I didn't even know that you were there. But yeah, she's awesome. She is awesome. She's an awesome club liaison. Thank you, hon. So.
I'll see you later, Barbara.
What's your club
Sorry,
name?
I know I'm in
See
the
you
corner with
later.
my club. SNA, but the Goodman South location. It's our first year having a club specifically at Goodman South, so Goodman South doesn't have a lot of participation over
We've
there.
been trying to get more participation on Let's Go South. It's just so hard to do that. It's cool that you guys are over there though.
Yeah, we have nursing classes over there, so I'm like, you guys, there's so many things that we do.
Very
But
good.
everyone's like, I'm a nurse, you don't have time.
Yeah.
Like, dude, do you know how many things I participate in school? You have time, you
You
know?
should bring up here, there's a lot of nursing students here.
Well, they have their own